Hey everyone, it's Gonzo and Mark here at Dungeon Class. Today we're talking about how to make your game faster as a player. All right, Mark. This is something that we're always looking to do, and that's to increase the speed of the game so that it flows better, so that it moves along better, the story continues to move on, and we're not bogged down as often on waiting on each individual player for their turn, for them to decide what to do. This is kind of a thing that we work on over time. And there's a lot of time, unfortunately, right now we have a lot of downtime in between games. So that's a time when you can work on some things to help make your game faster. What's one of the number one ways is we could do that?
So I would say you get to really know your character traits, any of the background, flaws, goals. So all of those things are the things that kind of drive your character. So really kind of study up on those and make sure that when you role play that those things come out. And so like let's say that your one of your flaws is you have a gambling habit. You really. So
what are you saying?
I'm just saying that you really probably should get help, Gonzo. No, the point is that there's an opportunity where someone says, I bet we could. I'll bet you we're going to do great on this next thing. And you go, really? How much is it? How much you bet? How much you want to bet? Well, I'm in for 5 gold. The person starts immediately jumping into that. They're establishing that I have a gambling problem. It helps the party, kind of reminds them, and that's part of your character, and it makes you kind of real because people do have flaws. They have some kind of flaw, and then also reminds the DM that okay, as I'm putting together these things, I should probably tease them like, look, there's a big pile of money over there, and they have some gambling debts.
A game of dice going on to the side.
What's going on? What's going on? Very easily distracted by that. So a flaw, their goal, maybe they're saving up money to try to pay someone for a wish spell to bring back their dead mother or something. That would be an ultimate goal for somebody. And so they're saving up money and they don't want to share with anybody. So those all things would come out, and that's part of that role playing, and it just makes for a more in-depth character. I kind of feel like this is one of the things that separates Dungeons and Dragons from video games.
That's for sure. I mean, you spend a lot of time creating your characters, and it's not just about the stats that you put down, but it's about the character, the person that you've created.
Right.
And yes, they're good traits and some of their bad traits. And so the more you get to know them and try to role play those, the more fun you'll have at your table.
Oh, gosh, yes.
And it will actually help the game move faster because you're able to maintain that role and stay within that character and not flip-flop or remember later that you should have been doing.
I should have been on that.
Right. I didn't do that before because I just remembered I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
So
just keep things flowing a little bit. So what else is another problem? Mechanics, right?
Mechanics, and this we could go on over and over. I mean, one of the first ones we'll talk about is just your racial traits. When you pick the race of your character, and we'll use Halfling for example because I have the book open to that. But there's different things that each race gets that you want to remember. And a Halfling gets the ability to they have something called lucky. They're just lucky, and if you roll a 1, you get to re-roll and use that roll. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Yeah. And if you forgot that would really cost you down the road.
Yeah, and I've seen that happen in a game where I have forgotten playing, and I'm like, oh wait, remember when I rolled a 1 and critical fumble, and I accidentally stabbed that guy, and yeah, that shouldn't have happened because I'm a halfling, so I can re-roll.
Right.
So again, it's remembering your different racial abilities that you have. They have, if you pick the stout, then you're resistant to poison damage, so you take half damage. Oh, remember when I took full damage? I should have. So it's again remembering and knowing your character enough to apply these different things as they come into play.
Right.
So that's racial traits. Another one would be all the different class traits, and there's a ton of those.
Yeah, so like depending on what you play, rogues, maybe there's when or when not to use sneak attack. Paladins, they have different things that they can smite and thing, and when, which smite to use, those kind of thing. But it gets some of the classes get really complicated. Like what for example, the Battle Master has all these different maneuvers that they could use.
Right.
And they don't want to have to keep asking the DM which of these maneuvers should I think. And I'm thinking about which maneuver I want to use.
Right.
That'll slow things down. All of the characters the classes that use spells. Oh my gosh, spells. Spells have so many things to remember. The range of the spell. Do you have, if you're using spell components, do you have the components for that? How many do you have the spell slots? What level spell you're going to cast it at? What does that spell even do? Those are all things that you need to know as a player, and you can't keep asking the DM all the time. Hey, what does Fireball do again? Or stopping to look it up. if you're going to look it up, you're doing it in the downtime between your turn in the round,
right?
So that you're ready to go when it's your turn. So.
And I think that's one of the keys. We're not saying take your player's handbook and memorize it, especially if you're new to the game. That's expected, and it's going to come through time.
Yeah.
And what I really enjoy is when you create a character and you're playing at a low level and you're getting to take that character and move up with them as they're leveling up, and you're getting more and more things that you can do. You've already kind of mastered the things you could do, so you're only having to learn the new skill or the new trait or the new spell. It's a lot harder if you're dropping into a game as a 12th level sorcerer.
Yeah.
You're having to learn everything. And if you've never played a sorcerer or something, that can be pretty difficult.
Yeah.
So when you have downtime, even time in between turns, if you're waiting on other people, as you see your turn coming up, kind of get an idea of what you want to do, how you want to cast the spell, what maneuver you're going to use as a Battle Master fighter, whatever it may be, you know. A lot of times we've had other ideas in other videos on where you can roll ahead of time.
Yeah.
That may or may not work depending on your group and what you've set up in session 0. But I think the key element for all of this is for players to be more comfortable with the character they've created, and then be able to maximize or use all the abilities that you have, because it is a lot of fun as a player to be able to pull out things that you may conveniently forget later on, and just really go after it. So, and that'll speed up the game. And boy, nothing's more fun than when you get to a battle and everyone knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
The battle seems to go quicker. The DM can concentrate on what he has to or she has to do, and they don't have to worry about everyone else.
Absolutely.
It comes with wisdom and playing experience for sure. But this is something, an easy way to speed up your game is to know your role. Backgrounds, Mark. Backgrounds are important to your character that you've created. And a lot of times we have a tendency to try to work these out on the table with everyone else around.
Right.
We've done a video, Backgrounds Matter, where we go into depth on this, but just very quickly, the easiest way to do this, to not bog down the game, is to do it in the downtime before or after the game through texting or through an email with your dungeon master, and to continue as your background continues to evolve. If you see something you really want to have included by your DM, or vice versa, if you're the DM and you'd like to tie something in, approach the player, or player approach your DM off screen, so to speak.
Yeah, makes sense.
We're glad to have you here at Dungeon Class, and check us out on Discord, check out our Patreon, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. There's a lot of ways that we can be in touch with each other, we can grow this community, and we can learn from each other on how to make this game more epic and fun.